knowing that answer. If you would take that back to the department, we'd appreciate it. Senator Shaheen.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I guess I would like to follow up a little bit on Senator Ricketts' questions and Senator Cardin's. But first, I want to go back. Dr. Carlin, you talked about the maintenance piece of our industrial base capacity, and obviously the shipyard infrastructure optimization plan is making a huge impact on that. I can speak from the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard's perspective that we are about to double our dry dock capacity, and that's going to give us much more ability to maintain nuclear subs and get them out in an expeditious way. But I guess, and I would agree that we have made substantial investments in our defense industrial base in a way that is contributing to our ability to produce the submarines we need. I've talked to suppliers in New Hampshire who are beneficiaries of that investment, but it still seems clear to me that despite all of that investment, we don't yet have the capacity in that defense industrial base to build the subs that we need to meet the AUKUS agreement. Is that an accurate assessment, or do you see something different?
Senator Shaheen, I think I might take that a little bit of a wider aperture on that, which is we absolutely need to be able to produce and maintain more submarines for our strategic interests, for our ability to be able to deter in the Indo-Pacific and also globally.
I think we would all agree with that. I don't think that was an answer to my question, though. I think my question was, based on what I know about our situation at present, we don't now have that capacity. Is that correct or not?
I want to make sure I understand which capacity you're talking about, because the way AUKUS is set up, we're not actually going to be, assuming congressional support, obviously, we would not actually be selling submarines to Australia for at least a few years, and in terms of delivery. And if we continue on the trajectory we're on with maintenance, we would have approximately 7 more submarines that are operationally available at that time. So I think when I would look at that operationally available picture, it is a whole lot more satisfying to be able to ensure the strategic intent of AUKUS.
So what you're saying is, if we continue to invest at the rate we are investing, that by the time our commitment to provide those submarines comes due, we will have that capacity.
At this stage, with the information we have, it does appear as though we are on that right trajectory in terms of the impacts of investments. I think this is an area one needs to monitor really closely. I'm delighted to hear your case studies of the impacts of investments to date, but we're just all going to need to watch that closely.
I've heard from our industry partners that they face challenges realizing AUKUS-related defense technology transfers and exports, and not at the senior level, because we've certainly gotten those assurances, but more at the action officer and manager level. Can either of you speak to that and whether you're seeing that move as we hoped?
Absolutely. And first of all, we are in regular conversation with industry across the board on these kinds of issues. Let me talk a little bit about what's going to be different once assuming the legislation moves forward. And I think this will help presumably some of the concerns that you're hearing. When it comes to Australia and the UK, companies who, again, we know where they're sending an item to, and we know that it's not prohibited under an international agreement, they will be able to move without actually coming to the State Department for a license. That is a very significant change. But the second piece, which I actually haven't talked about as much, which is actually, I think, the thing we hear more from countries about, is right now, if you have a U.S. defense article, like a weapon, and you want to transfer it between one company to another, among the three countries, you also have to get, in essence, you have to come for authorization to do that. And among and between the three countries, U.S. defense items, again, within the caveats that I laid out, are going to be able to move. When I sit down and talk with companies that I met with the US AmCham, for example, when I was just in Australia, when we talk through those issues, those tend to be the core of their concerns. Now, there are always, some specific things that we have to work through, but that's why what we're doing here is so significant. And we are doing it, again, with Australia and the UK because they are some of our closest allies and because of a long history of working with them on defense trade.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Hagerty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I welcome our guest today. First, I'd just like to say that our friends in Australia